Hi, welcome to 180 Days of Lang. I'm Heather. I am a high school AP Lang teacher. So this is going to be a little different from the usual format. Instead of walking you through the lesson of that day, basically the whole lesson for whatever day this is, I lost count already, but it's just establishing and fostering your first activities in writing small groups, which is a process that I really value in an AP Lang class. And let me talk about the benefits, how I set it up, and how you might use it or troubleshoot some things. So, first of all, a small writing group is like peer feedback, except it's more formalized and it's more consistent. So I've done peer feedback before where just, hey, we have an essay due tomorrow, so find a partner, swap papers, do the checklist of things. It's hit and miss on that feedback. This is instead something out of the model of if you've ever taken a college creative writing class, you might have a small group of people that are your consistent circle that you build feedback on each other's writing, build on each other's feedback on writing consistently over the semester. And when I had that in actually a poetry creative writing group, I was terrified to write poetry. And I found that to be so comforting because it wasn't just, oh, my work is always up for the judgment of the whole class. It was just this small group of people that I could foster relationships with. And I don't know why we limit that to creative writing when I think our students often feel just as vulnerable in their analytical writing too if they don't feel good at it yet. So I set this up when we established our first writing assignment of the year. And some of the benefits besides just that sense of trust and collaboration is that they can really celebrate growth together. You'll notice if you have the same groups going for months at a time that they will acknowledge, oh, hey, you were able to work through this thing you couldn't do last time. There's also a mutual accountability piece because if they know they're working in their writing groups, they learn quickly they don't want to be the person that shows up without a draft to work on or to present and stuff like that. So that is motivating to students as well. I wrote down some of the other benefits that I've noticed too. Oh, this is a big one. Less teacher dependence. Think about your drafting stages, how many times you just have kids that sit with their hands up because they don't want to write anything else until you've read everything that they've written so far, or they try to do that. But having this established practice means that they can all get lots of feedback on their drafts and progress, but they don't all have to be reliant on you. And if you have a lot of students in your class, that is just the only way you can function really is to do it not where they're all coming to you all the time for feedback. It's also beneficial because if you mix up your groups with really different styles of writers or writers that have different approaches or different levels of skill, it's really good for kids to see a variety of takes. And sometimes it's great for kids who are struggling writers to see models of great writing. But I think it's also good the other way around too for kids that are strong writers to be able to identify, oh, here's the difference, but this reaffirms my choice. Like my paper is more clear and now I can figure out how to help somebody else too, if that makes sense. So those mixed groups are useful for this and I recommend that. So that takes me into setting up the writing groups. I recommend about 4 to 5 students per group. That way, if one person, even 2 people are absent, the group can continue doing the work. It's not too many people where there's not too many passes of the paper around just for planning purposes. And yeah, it's just a nice mix of perspectives in groups of 4 to 5. So if your numbers allow it, I would go for that. When I set up my writing small groups, I use this slideshow that's included in the lesson. And I talk about those benefits of it that I just went over with you. And the goal is that for students that they get a chance to share their work, they get comfortable with accepting feedback, but also with accepting praise because kids, just like you or other adults, have a hard time taking compliments. So it's good to practice that too. And most importantly, everyone leaves with ideas for growth in their pieces. I really talk to them hard about the language of constructive feedback. So I want to encourage a culture of that they say something positive about every piece, but I coach them to use the language of adding value in their written and verbal comments. So instead of saying, this could be better if you did this, just phrasing it to, this could be stronger by adding it. So that way they're not really like, if you say, oh, this could be better, it implies that it's bad in a way that it could be stronger or even stronger if it just feels a little bit more kind. So that might not be your style, but it matters a lot to me, and I encourage my kids to talk like that when they talk to one another. So I always share with them. They're always like, oh, they cringe at the idea of sharing their drafts at first. But we talk about those things. My rule is that they should never apologize for their draft or disparage it. The only bad drafts are the ones that don't get written. Drafts are not supposed to be good. Like, the point is that you come back and improve them. So then after that, then whatever our first activity is, I put that slide up there. So once we've established those norms, we often have to go back and remind ourselves about those processes. And then I usually just comes down to just one slide on the board for what is it the group is focusing on each day. So I always start off with something really simple of just reading it out loud and what's something that everyone in the group liked about the draft. And even if it's something really simple, you were clear and to the point. If it didn't have a lot, hey, it was focused, it was to the point. That's a good thing, right? We value that in writing. Just making sure that they have those norms set, an easy, low stakes collaborative activity for that first thing. And then really this is a blank canvas that you can build on throughout the years. So some common troubleshooting things, if you're thinking ahead and you're worried that this might not work, mixing personalities. Sometimes kids will get into the groups and not know anybody and realize, oh, it doesn't really mesh well with one another. It's up to you if you want to. I find that if I change my groups out at semester, that's usually okay, but you might need to change them out quarterly, or hopefully not every writing assignment because that defeats the purpose. But if you have some conflict, you might need to change it up more often. But then also, what do you do if kids don't show up with their drafts? I do not let them just have that time to work and get caught up. I tell them, like, look, you have to help everybody else because everyone else showed up to get feedback with theirs, but you don't get the benefit of that. And then whatever late work penalties apply per your class. But I think students figure out pretty quickly that feedback can be really valuable, and just the social experience of it, they often like a lot too. And this is just another accountability piece to one another, like in a book club. So that is how I run my writing small groups. It's a really useful tool to keep those going throughout the year. And I hope that gives you some ideas on how you can set something up similar in your own class. If you do, or you do something like this, or have learned some good tips or tricks along the way, please share that in a comment for other teachers. Also, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, because that gives this channel a little bit more visibility so the other struggling first year AP Lang teachers out there can hopefully find some tips like this to help them out. So thanks for watching and have a great day.